And we're back with another episode as he's eating an O. Henry bar right there of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. Darren, you should have gotten a hold of him the other day when he was on playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. You would have had 2 hours of uninterrupted Trader Tom, aka Laker Tom, right there for you. Speaking, of course, of Laker Tom, he's the number one Lakers blogger that's out there. It's Laker Tom at Laker Tom on Twitter, but you can also find him and Mr. Jamie Sweet, our five things guy himself, at Lakerholics.com. Plus, our good friend Joe Soro, aka Ox1947. He's still roaming the Midwest, so watch out, Midwesterners out there. Be careful, he's out there. He might join us tonight, but go ahead and check him out as Ox1947. You know he's got to be happy about another Lakers win at LakersBall.com. Plus, support his company even while he's not there. Simblades, Simblades with a Y.com. Also, as well, our good friends, Lakers in 5, Empire Jeff TV, and John McCallion. Go ahead and check out their YouTube channels today. And speaking of YouTube, go right below Sean eating the O. Henry bar. It's right there. It's Joe. See, Joe is so surprised that you're eating an O. Henry bar that he's got his eyes bugging out right there for you. The little Joe right there on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Go ahead and click on that, and you'll be subscribed to get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air with the latest Lakers Fast Break podcast. And tonight, I will tell you the Lakers headed to Anaheim, or as the Iron Sheik, rest in peace, Iron Sheik, used to say in his promos when he used to be coming the WWE over to Anaheim, 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 Pui. But he used to also go ahead and say Anaheim. But what I will tell you, as far as Anaheim is concerned, the Lakers did play in Anaheim today, the Honda Center. They faced off against the Sacramento Kings, and they did so without LeBron James, without Anthony Davis, without Austin Reaves, without Cam Reddish, and without Jared Vanderbilt. Tall task for an exhibition game, so we weren't expecting a whole lot, because the Kings were at full strength heading into today's game, and we're going to play, and actually ended up playing them quite a bit, quite a stretch. In fact, in some cases, with their starting lineup intact, they played them well over 20 minutes in some cases. But that didn't stop the Lakers from getting out to a early lead. Fell behind in the second quarter, kind of looked sluggish there. And it was kind of looking like, okay, you've got the subs in there. You got the rotation guys in there. You got some guys that are not used to playing with each other. That's okay. But the Lakers were only down by 1.5. But in the third quarter, backed by a great performance again this preseason by D Angelo Russell, hopefully giving us some signs that he's going to continue that in the regular season with 21 points, 8 assists, 2 of 5 from behind the arc, and 8 of 12 overall. Gabe Vincent in the starting lineup gave us a tremendous performance. He is going to be a streaky player out there, folks. And today he was on a good streak. 18 points, 7 of 12 overall, and 4 of 8 from behind the arc. Tayshaun Prince, another solid performance. 13 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 steals. 2 of 5 from behind the arc, 5 of 9 overall. And Rui Hashimura, 5 of 10, 13 points and 6 rebounds. That lineup, along with Jackson Hayes, playing again some really steady ball, plus 14, 5 points, 5 rebounds. And the Lakers pulled out in the third quarter to a 40-28 advantage over the starters for Sacramento. And they ended up cruising, even if they put in the younger kids again in the fourth quarter. Didn't matter because the Lakers did pull out a good, solid victory, 109-101. Again, with several Lakers players out there, and the Sacramento Kings actually had their players in. Here today to talk about today's game, a good man indeed. It is the Madman from Toronto. He is part of our full coverage, including playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break, along with a big shout out to Laker Nick, as always. Truly appreciate anytime Nick Molina joins us as well. It is the Magic Man, Sean Grice. And Sean, great to have you here. Cannot thank you enough for joining us as always and being a great part of what we do here at the Lakers Fast Break. Your thoughts, though? We got solid contributions from everyone in that makeshift starting lineup. We also got a good contribution from Maxwell Lewis, who, as we talked about on our last show, on our last post game, Zangerstein is getting really high on, and I can see why. He's starting to come. He's starting to see the forest from the trees there, and also as well, Christian Wood. Now, mind you, Christian Wood, very straightforward. You get on the ball, he's probably going to shoot it. But today, 13 points off the bench. You got what you needed from the Lakers, and overall, it meant a win in exhibition season game number 3.
Yeah, absolutely, Gerald. It was figuring to be a long night at the Honda Center for not just the team, but for us as well, because
Oh
we
yeah, when
were,
you heard all those names being out of the lineup, you figure
yeah,
that's it.
yeah, it's gonna be dog food tonight. But it turns out the Sacramento Kings 9-man rotation was the dog food tonight, Gerald. Not only did Mike Brown play his starters, he also played his bench a significant amount of time as well. And like you said, the Lakers were pretty steady. It wasn't a wire to wire victory, but it almost felt that way.
Mhm.
Um,
That third quarter really when they asserted the game,
it
and
turned the
that's
tide.
that was it. That was pretty
Yeah,
much was the game in a nutshell right there.
yeah, it was, and great contributions. Yeah, D'Lo gets another gold star without question. D'Lo's been the most consistent Laker from the first game to this one.
Agreed
Uh,
wholeheartedly.
yeah, and that's great to see. That pretty much tells you, if he's playing this consistently, it might as well almost be like he's in midseason form. He's just ready to get the season started, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Good. I could
Uh,
agree with you on that. But let me ask you this: Gabe Vincent, who we said streaky player, streaky shooter, always giving you solid defense on one end. He was able to still give you that, but the fact is, when he can shoot like that, now mind you, he's not going to be. He's going to be starting a few games for the Lakers this season, coming in there when D'Angelo's out of the lineup, or maybe Austin's out of the lineup, and they're going to go ahead with a bringing him in as a third guard type option, bringing him into the starting lineup. So be prepared for that every now and then. But if he could come off the bench and shoot like that a little bit more often, my God, it would help the Lakers oh so much.
Yeah, Gerald. As far as streaky goes, that's true. And within that streakiness, he can be a fire alarm. He can be a fire alarm shooter,
Yep,
no question about it. He really had Sacramento scrambling in that second quarter. And again, as Gerald alluded to, the third quarter he stepped it up and he made a couple of big shots. Uh, Absolutely, Gerald. Given the fact that you're expecting um, look, D'Lo has already said he loves playing with Gabe Vincent because he sees Vincent as more of a point guard, and D'Lo has said he often plays better when his other backcourt mate is predominantly or um, more mu- more in the third eye of a point guard. Say an Austin Reaves or a Gabe Vincent. He feels more comfortable. He's at ease, and obviously he understands that Gabe Vincent has those chops defensively, Gerald. So I think D'Lo's very comfortable in that situation. Obviously, he thrives when he's comfortable. There's no question about it.
I will tell you, Z, I had two TVs on. I actually got a chance and opportunity to go ahead and go to the game, the WNBA title game today, where went up 2-0 in the finals over the New York Liberty. But my daughter actually wanted to go a little bit more than I did, so she got to go ahead and check out the game, and she was having a blast. Got pictures from the game and everything. I wish it was crowded. I wish it was a full arena crowd. I had mistakenly said that they would move over the finals to the T-Mobile Arena. No, they kept it at the Michelob Ultra Arena at the Mandalay Bay. Still, I wish they had filled it up for it. It was still a pretty good crowd, but still, I wish for a finals game they would have filled it up. But still, very good crowd. Actually, a very good performance for the Aces. And I'm not yet, rubbing it in on Magic Man and Megan Price yet, not just yet. So I will be a good spirit about it for right now. They still have one more game to do. But yes, congrats to the Aces for going up 2-0 in the WNBA Finals. But getting back to the Lakers, I wanted to go ahead and make mention that we also saw for a second game in a row, Torian Prince in the starting lineup. He is asserting himself really solid today, 5 of 9, 2 of 5 from three. That's basically for Mr. 40% right there. 40%. He called it. 13 points and 7 rebounds. If you can get that from a guy that could very well be your fifth starter, he is making a claim with Vando out of the lineup and Cam Reddish out of the lineup that he is the guy that might be leaned upon to go ahead and start with the other four come the beginning of the season.
Possible.
Possible. I didn't say yet, but I said it's looking more like it. So
It's looking more like that. I've, I think you're on the page right there, Gerald. Once Vando comes back and he's healthy,
okay.
I've always believed that you shouldn't lose your starting spot because you're injured. I don't think that's a fair way to
But it was
weed
tenuous
out.
in the first place.
Yes, that's true, but regardless of that fact, he was given that role, and because he has a heel injury, he shouldn't necessarily be slighted for that.
Mhm.
I think once the ball tips off, Gerald, and we get into the weeds, eventually I agree with you. I think Prince will become a starter. I just don't think it'll happen at the start. Again, Darvin Ham is a player's coach, and one of the adages of a player's coach is you don't allow a guy to lose his starting spot because of an injury. It's not a good look, Gerald. It's not a good look as far as your evaluation of a position. It's
Mhm.
not good in terms of evaluation of a locker room and the chemistry that could be disjointed there. So I agree with you. I think Prince is very comfortable starting. Fits like a glove with either this unit or LeBron and AD. So
If he plays like this, now mind you, he might not be able to guard the quickest of threes, but I really think that he can do a solid job with almost everyone else. And in doing so, he is laying claim to the possibility just because of the fact that he can hit better from the outside. If the team really wants to go ahead and go all in on more three shooting and more consistent three shooting, although today is not a great idea because they only took 33s today. So you really can't gauge that very well today. But based off the first two games and what the comments made by Darvin Ham, if that's the case, I'm leaning slightly in the direction now of Torian Prince. I just didn't think, based off what I saw the past couple seasons, we were going to get a Torian Prince that looks like this so far.
no, um, I, I encourage everybody to go back and please listen to our interview with Chris Hine from the Minneapolis Star Tribune.
Mhm.
Chris said emphatically, I asked him, is Torian Prince at this point a 3 or a 4? Chris said he's a 3. He was asked to play 4 by the Wolves out of necessity. They had an injury problem, and they foisted Torian Prince into a 3 and D role that's just not his. He's not a 3 and D player. He's a volume 3-point shooter, and like Gerald said, a slight versatility to guard some threes, not all threes, some threes. But obviously, as it's turned out so far, he's the best hybrid we have so far on the perimeter, uh, gauging both offense versus defense. It's just more of a flow than it is with Vando right now. But I'll reiterate again. I don't think a player should lose his starting spot to injury, but I also agree with Gerald that I think this is just a question of when, not if, Torian Prince becomes a starter.
Once again, it's the Lakers fast break. The Lakers, behind a spirited performance by D Angelo Russell and the rotation players, got the jump on the Sacramento Kings with a full strength squad on their end, 109 to 101. I'm telling you, my friend, I saw a lot of good things tonight. You know, that first quarter and the third quarter were really, they meshed well, shot the ball well, really, and on the defensive end provided enough. I guess not always the best of execution, Magic Man, but the effort. The effort for the most part was there on the defensive end. Christian Wood, still some things obviously I'd like to see differently, and he is a little bit of a black hole. People are just going to have to get used to it. That's just who he is. But
Mhm.
he did manage to go ahead and be a +2, 13 points, 4 rebounds, 5 of 7 overall from the field. Yes, some of those were tough shots over 2 and 3 defenders, but that's who he is, Sean. That's what we're going to get. A guy who can score, but he is going to frustrate a lot of people at times just because, again, he doesn't see a shot he doesn't like.
No, Gerald, that's true. He's in that way. In that way, he's very old school. A lot of Kobe Bryant fans, Carmelo Anthony fans, oh gosh, even Michael Redd fans going back there will will probably love Christian Wood because yeah, he loves isos. He loves to dribble into double teams. He'll shoot over triple teams. Gerald's right. From the mid post in, it looks like it's going to be slim pickings as far as getting a pass from
He did make a
Christian Wood.
pass one time. I did note it, but
Well,
it
here's
was
the
that went
thing.
out of bounds.
Here's the thing, Gerald. I got to be honest. Jackson Hayes may not be a great post player with the ball in his hands, trying to score, but he is a very good passer out of the post and a
Yes.
better passer out of the post so far than Christian Wood. So uh, that we were kind of having this discussion on playback. Gerald, right now, who would you pencil in as backing up AD at the 5? Would it be Christian Wood or would it be Jackson Hayes right now?
Right now it'd be Jackson Hayes, but I would play Christian Wood alongside him because you need certain players to go ahead and accentuate each other's strengths and play off of each other's weaknesses.
Absolutely, well said. I think that's going to happen because we saw them play a lot in the past two games together, and
Yes.
obviously that's a duo that Darvin Ham likes what he sees at practice. So if Coach Ham likes what he sees at practice, he's going to try and experiment with it in a game. And so far, the results have been pretty good. I mean, uneven, imbalance. We got to take everything with a granular of salt, but
Yeah.
I really like what I've seen out of Jackson Hayes as far as his activity. Um, Again, Gerald, to kind of paraphrase Mark Twain, the rumors of Jackson Hayes' IQ are quite exaggerated. He looks like a basketball player to me, Gerald.
Looks
I'm
really
not.
solid. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
As long as
like
he doesn't have the ball to go ahead and drive, especially from
yes,
the top of the key, that looked
yes.
ugly. But,
But other than that, I mean, he's played a very, very
pick and roll, pick and
stellar,
roll, pick and
stellar.
roll with him.
And one thing I've absolutely loved so far is that we have multiple hybrid players who are willing to be not only active screeners but focus screeners. Rui's been an active screener. Jackson Hayes has been an active screener. This is good. This is a good sign for everybody. It's
Yeah.
opening up space, and they're hitting it hard, which is what you need to do in a Darvin Ham offense. So it's nice to see. Because of that, I think we'll get a little sprinkling of a lot of inverted pick and rolls, Gerald. We saw Gabe Vincent and Christian Wood try to do that the other night, and the results weren't good. They were very good tonight, Gerald. Gabe Vincent and Christian Wood. Uh, on three pick and rolls together. 4 points plus Christian Wood got two free throws. So positive signs here. They're still working at it, but I think you could definitely see a bench of Gabe Vincent, Rui, Jackson Hayes, and Christian Wood. That's a very formidable bench so far.
Big shout out to Eric. Happy birthday. You know what? Let's go ahead, Magic, and sing a off-key happy birthday for him. Happy
Happy birthday
birthday to
to
you.
you.
Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday
to
to
you.
you.
Happy
Happy
Lakers
birthday,
birthday to
dear Eric.
Eric.
Happy
Happy Lakers
birthday
birthday
to
to
you.
you. Yes,
Hip hip hooray. Hip
well,
hip hooray.
now that we've destroyed the ears of everybody listening on the podcast, it's Gerald Glassford along with MagicMan and Chuck Rice. Thanks so much for watching, listening. I want to know more about the juice, why Darren has been kicked off of Laker Nation. You know what? That's fine. You're welcome right here with us at the Lakers Fast Break. Truly appreciate everything that you do for us, and our best chat. I'll tell you what, the best Lakers chat room that's out there has to be right here at the Lakers Fast Break. Zangerstein, Kurt, Search is obviously moderating like no one else. Truly appreciate everyone out there being a part of what we do here at the Lakers Fast Break. But thank you so much again for joining us. The Lakers do win 109-101. One thing I want to ask you though, when it comes to what you saw in that third quarter, it seemed like again they're facing up against what many are considering the starting lineup for the Sacramento Kings. Didn't look like they were half-assing it. Didn't look like they were not giving it their all. I'm sure they got an earful on more than one occasion from Mike Brown, especially at halftime. And they were because the first team really didn't look good in the first quarter, and then again in the third quarter this is the second time in a row for them. You said they looked disappointing in a loss against the Toronto Raptors already. What does that tell you when you see this type of performance? I don't know if it's just little breadcrumbs right now. You can only take so much from the exhibition season, but I'm kind of thinking that the magic may not work twice, pardon the pun, the second time around for the Sacramento Kings.
I agree with you. I'm starting to eke my way into that camp as well, Gerald.
Oh, it looks like we're getting banned from YouTube, and you're going to start a new a cappella group there, Sean.
Please, I'm no chance of me ever joining a barbershop quartet.
Okay, fair enough. But I will say again, it's great to have everyone here. And thank you so much to all the over 60 Lakers Facebook groups that I send this out to each and every. If you are a part of one of those great Lakers groups on Facebook, welcome. It's the Lakers Fast Break. It is the post game. We do this every single post game. We are here. We're the best post game for Lakers coverage right here at the Lakers Fast Break. Want to ask you this though, Magic? I saw some encouraging signs from Maxwell Lewis, somebody that Zangerstein, she is turning around on him, already in the preseason, and now I'm starting to think a little bit better of him. Again, deer caught in the headlights during summer league, absolutely looked terrible. 3 games with nothing but donuts. Really looked bad in the minutes that were off. He couldn't even crack the starting lineup during summer league, which was a very, very bad sign to me. But then here he is right here, especially yes, previous game, all right, looked okay, especially with those couple the windmill dunk and a dunk right after that, looked really good as far as playing hands on defense, whatnot. Today he looked much more comfortable, much better, both ends of the floor. The kid, as I mentioned on our show, on our playback.tv as Lakers Fast Break, looks like he's got a much longer lower body, much
He
longer
looks
legs.
If he was a dog, Gerald, Max Lewis would be a greyhound.
Yeah, he just looks like someone who could really excel off the break and just someone who could really just give you what you need as far as
He
just
can
someone who
he can explode.
explode.
There's a
Yeah,
there's a
really
burst
got
there.
some. Yeah, he's got a burst and looks like he can go ahead and really do some great athletic things for us. The thing is, though, when I see him, though, he still will need a lot of work in the G League. It's just no doubt about that. But again, I do see some promising signs there with Jalen Hood Schifino. We want to go back to him. His performance tonight, again, terrible shooting game. Again, that's like a broken record there. 1 of 5, 0-2 from behind the arc. But I want to give him credit. He got to the line twice. It got to the line for 2 free throws, 2 of 2, but 5 assists and 6 rebounds. Trying to contribute in other ways. Still does not look great defensively either. Your thoughts on JHS? Because I think, again, from a distribution standpoint, he looked a little bit more steady, looked a little bit more refined there, and his decision making was a little bit better today. But still, it's a long way to go.
It's a long way to go. This isn't this isn't a finished product. No person is at this
No,
age,
no, no,
and
absolutely not.
especially a basketball player as well. But as we've been saying, there needs to be improvement. Today he got a little bit better offensively, I thought, Gerald. Other than the shot, like that jump shot needs work. It
Yeah.
definitely needs work. Other than that, I liked his playmaking today. It was a little bit better. You know what? He is 6'6". he needs to have a better stance defensively, Gerald. He really does. He
He's got to
needs to
move
get.
his feet
He,
better.
he does. He's got to get lower and move his feet. It's integral in this game. Like there are too many shifty, twitchy guards in this league that can move at a burst pace, and he's got to be able to. You don't have to be swift, but you have to be competent. You
Yeah.
just can't have slow feet. That was D Angelo Russell's issue when he first got in the league. I often said it feels like he feels like he's got concrete in his shoes, like wet cement. That's the way he kind of moved. Uh, but in this sense, um, you know, I think it's important to recognize that he's still got work to do, and like you said, Joe, I think he'll be in the G League a lot.
Well, that's where they need the reps. JHS and Maxwell Lewis need a lot of reps in order to become much better players, along with Castleton. Demoy Hodge, even though he is an older player, has not really done as well. The days where he was just really killing it in the summer league, those days are over because he's really not fared well in this brief amount of time that he's been in the lineup. So I'm hoping that the kid can find his stroke once again. Maybe if he plays again more extended time in the G League, these kids are going to take, it's going to take a lot of work. And then Fudge, you know what? Fudge had a nice putback dunk, but unfortunately, there's still a lot more there to work with him on that, because he needs a more well-rounded game, I think, to stick in the league. But again, these kids have some promising signs, especially with Maxwell Lewis for what we've seen so far in the exhibition season. So we'll take it from that. I know the Ham is being vilified at times by the Lakers audience for leaving them in there in both of these fourth quarters. But that's what the exhibition season's all about, Magic Man. See what these kids got now and learn so you can have it on video exactly what they need to develop.
Absolutely, Gerald. And they need to. That's also part of the learning curve and
Yeah.
development in
Yeah.
the NBA is watching film.
Yes.
Some guys are just they're just film junkies. Rondo was a film junkie. There are other teams and other players that don't philosophize film as much. If you play for the San Antonio Spurs, Pop and the Spurs developmental staff don't really watch a lot of film, Joe. They're more focused on what they do rather than what the opponent does. But these young players need to watch film, especially JHS, Gerald. And if I was him, I would be a sponge when it comes to Phil Handy. Be watching a lot of film, asking a lot of questions. That's the only way you get better, Gerald, at anything. If you really want to get better, you have to ask a lot of questions. You have to be prepared to hear a lot of criticism and ask a lot of questions if you want to get better at a skill. That's just the
I
way.
have I said how grateful I am to have Search and Kurt in our chat every single time out. Those
Hmm.
two are a pair. Those two are a pair indeed. Oh, Philly, you can see the chat right now with Kurt talking about maybe being able to trade JHS for Miles Turner, Buddy Healed. Darren, though, super chat. Thank you so much, Darren, for the great super chat. It is much appreciated. Max Christie has been underwhelming these last two games. What's up? Excellent point. He struggled again this time around. He's not done and fared well this exhibition season so far. I think because the fact that he knows there's a rotation spot on the line if he plays well, I think he's pressing Darren. The thing was when he was playing in summer league, he didn't need to worry about his time there. He was always just working out some things. He looked relaxed. He looked comfortable. He looked like he was able to make the easy decisions. Now he's again this still with everything so much on the line for him because he knows this is essentially for him a contract year. He is pressing. It looks very clear to me that he is pressing. I know there was controversy back and forth in the chat about whether or not he looks frustrated. I don't know if he looks frustrated or not, but it does look like, Sean, that he is pressing and pressing a lot.
He is. He is pressing. Although Darvin Ham gave him the most minutes tonight, Jared, he almost
Yeah.
played 30.
Yeah.
So
You got to,
it's
and if that's the case, you got to produce. And today he didn't.
yeah. That's just the
Two and
point.
9, 0 and 3 from behind the arc, 7 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, but 4 turnovers as well.
Yeah, yeah. That's Not good. Not good, especially when you're trying to get in that off guard spot. I mean, look at Gabe Vincent today, Gerald. That's kind of who Max Christie kind of needs to pattern his game after. If you want to play beside Austin Reaves or D'Lo, watch Max Christie a lot. Absorb Gabe Vincent. Get in Gabe Vincent's uh, grill and ask him, Gabe, help me out here. What do I need to do to improve? Because that's the guy who's going to eat up your minutes if you're not playing, Max.
Zangerstein says, Serge Lewis makes the Lakers passing on Cam tolerable to me. They have the same game with Lewis being 6'7". I'm not ready to go that far, Zangerstein. Not ready to go that far quite yet. I think you're reaching on this reach, but we'll see. Lewis has played well and played better. More power to him. So we'll see what happens
We
there.
have to wait
And
and
again,
see.
we haven't seen Cam.
We haven't these
Yeah,
Neither one of these guys have ever
yeah,
played an NBA
yeah.
game yet.
Yeah, Cam Whitmore, we haven't even seen play in like Sean said, an NBA game yet. So we'll wait and see. But of course, right now JHS needs to get some time and work in at the G League level. I think it's pretty clear, especially the fact his shot is just. I don't want to say it's broken, but it needs a lot of fixing. It needs a lot of work because he's not been able to shoot well at all in any game this summer or exhibition
No,
season.
Jared, and let's take a good example of what we're talking about with Max. So at the beginning, in the middle of the first quarter, Jackson Hayes set a pick. As he set that pick, D'Lo curled around him and found Torian Prince in the left hand corner for a three. It was beautiful. They tried the same thing, except Hayes was screening, Christie was in the corner, and D'Lo curled around him. Now it's the same exact play, same exact action, same exact sequence. We saw Christie brick it, Gerald. You got to make that shot.
And
You
he was
have to
making
make.
those in summer league.
He was, and as Gerald pointed out correctly, we watched it. He was relaxed. He was confident. He didn't overthink things. It was dribble, pass, shoot. Dribble, pass, shoot. It seems like there's kind of a hesitation now, Gerald, a tentativeness with them, and like you said, Gerald, those kind of jittery unsureness that plays into being unconfident, being pressing yourself. He needs to relax, play his game, and focus on what he does well instead of trying to do too much. Larry Bird, one of the greatest players ever, summed up his game like this: I don't try and do more than I can do, and I don't do more than I should do. I just play my basic game and ask everybody to do the same. That's what Max Christie needs to do. Just play his basic game. He plays
Absolutely.
his basic game. Max can play 25 to 30 minutes of effective basketball, but like Gerald was saying, and spot on, because I agree, he's pressing right now, and it's not good. It leads to inefficiency. It leads to being unconfident.
Well, again, his play is going to be directly influenced on what the Lakers will do as far as having him in early on in the rotation. Otherwise, it's going to be sitting on the bench and have to earn his way back into a rotation spot later. But then again, we saw something similar, Sean, happen this time last season with a certain guy named Austin Reaves, who kind of fell out of favor in the rotation early on in the season. But we all know what happened next.
Yeah, he got inserted, and then he never let go, Gerald. He eventually became a starter. And we talked about that. We talked about how, you know, that little spark that initiated all of this progress was only eventually going to lead to Austin starting. I don't see that same case happening with Max just because there are more talented players above him. But the fact is, Gerald, you're right. There has to be. It's not a press. It's not a precipice moment, so to speak. It's not. You're facing the edge of the cliff, but you're facing the edge of a cliff when it comes to your role in the Lakers right now. It's
Okay.
well, he
Well,
is. He
no, no,
is.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Yeah, yeah. If he's ineffective, Gerald, hats off to him. I wish him lots of luck, but the Lakers won't bring him back. They're looking for Max Christie to make an impact and improve drastically. I mean, we've seen up until now, Gerald. It looks like if I had to bet right now, Gerald, I would say Max Christie is looking at more G League time than Maxwell Lewis.
No, I think Max Christie will be on the roster,
Well,
Sean. I think
well, any
it's for
player,
him.
Gerald, any player with 3 years or less experience can be put down in the G League whether they want to or not. Now they did do it with Austin Reaves, so I agree with you. I don't think they're going to do it with Max Christie either. But if he continues to struggle, I don't see why he should be on the bench either, because there's something has there's a synapse loss there. Like there's been a disconnect. I don't think he's there yet, but he needs to play better.
He's going to be on the roster. He just may not be in the rotation, but he will be like the 12th guy, 11th, 12th guy.
Oh,
That's just barely out of the
agree.
rotation, but he's
I
not going to
agree.
play in the G League. He's already been in the league too long for him to go ahead and go
No,
back
no.
down to the G League.
What I said was who's more likely to be in the G League right now? Is it Lewis or Christie? Will it be Christie?
Oh, it'd be Lewis by a long shot of being in the G League. Christie is actually going to be in the rotate. He's not going to be in the rotation at this point. He'll be like an 11th guy, 12th guy in the rotation where he'll be just slightly out. But at least he'll have the chance to go ahead and possibly get back in maybe later in the season, even as early as November or December. But I do not anticipate him going to be sent down to the G League. It's guys like JHS, it's guys like Maxwell Lewis, it's guys like
Oh, I
obviously
agree.
the
I
real
agree.
yeah,
I'm my, I,
but Christie is going to be someone who's going to be questionable whether or not he will be the backup starting
he
guard,
he
backup shooting
watched
guard at this point in time.
Gerald. He had improved significantly over last season, but what happened? That trade happened, and he lost his minutes. I
Yeah,
mean, if that can happen again, it can
that is
happen.
happening right now. The way he's
It's
playing,
happening. It's happening again. So yeah, um, Darren. Right now,
I think he's the odd man out. I think
I
if
I
you go
think
a 9-man rotation, he's the odd man out.
I think right now your backup two is your backup one, which is Gabe Vincent.
I think your backup two is actually, as I'm thinking about it, is D Angelo Russell. If you move Gabe Vincent over and you bring him in as the point. And then I know Zangerstein's not going to like what I hear, so maybe cover your ears, Zangerstein. I apologize for this. When Ham goes to his 3 guard lineups, which happened today, out of necessity, so I don't really want to go ahead too much into it. And they did look good while they had the 3 guard lineup in there. But if they go to 3 guard lineup, you could very well see Gabe Vincent, D'Angelo Russell, and Austin Reaves. You could
Yeah,
see them with
you
that.
could see it.
Yeah, I could
Right.
see him wanting to go ahead and utilize that lineup. And if that's the case, the backup two essentially is D'Angelo Russell
Well,
because,
right now they have the backup two as Gabe Vincent on the Lakers depth chart. But
but
yeah,
he's a smallish, more of a point guard. He does play off the ball. Both, that's the thing about D'Angelo and Gabe. They both can play off the ball. They don't need to be reliant on having the ball in their hands all
yeah.
the
Look,
time.
my
As a
point.
spot up shooter,
Yeah,
D'Angelo Russell could be very good for you as well.
yeah. No, so I may have not made my point correctly. My point is not that Max Christie is going to the G League. My point is that Max Christie is playing like he belongs in the G League.
Okay, there you go. There you go. That's a better way you phrase it because I was kind of puzzled at that myself.
Yeah,
But
no, that's not what I'm saying. He's playing like he needs to be in the G League right now. That's the point I'm trying to emphasize.
but
Oh no
Darren,
one.
he is one of our better defensive options. But the thing is, if he's not able to produce for you in a league right now, which is so heavily reliant on the offensive end, as we've seen so far, even in this exhibition season, the scores are up. The offense is more in tune with more reps, more, shooting from the outside, et cetera, et cetera. You're probably going to see Max not get consistent minutes at this point in time. Maybe situational, maybe due to foul trouble. but right now he is not earning a consistent spot in the rotation. He might be the odd man out. He might be the 10th guy, the 11th guy, or the 12th guy in the rotation. And right now, if you're only playing 9 guys, that leaves one guy short. So I'm hoping that that's not the case because I really like the kid. I think he once he settles down and finds a rhythm, I think it's going to be so much better for him. I think he can play and I think he can contribute in the league, Magic Man. I just think he needs to go ahead and stop pressing and just remember how what it was like in the summer league when he looked so relaxed, so comfortable, and like you said, so confident as well.
Yeah, that's what's necessary. Like I'm not sure what happened. Like we all put pressure on ourselves. I just think Max Christie's, like you said, Joe, putting way too much pressure on himself right now. I think it's important to just play your basic game and let the chips fall where they may. Because right now you're playing like you belong in the G League. I didn't say you were going to the G League. I just said you were playing like you belong in the G League. We are all rooting for Max. I hope Max takes that off guard spot. That's who I want. That's who I want to see in that role. And it's all there for him right now. Cam Reddish twisted his ankle. Any kind of injury you got in training camp or before the season, just it seems to just put every player behind the 8 ball. Yeah, you got the 3 guard triumvirate right now with Vincent, D'Lo, and Austin Reaves. Somebody's got to crack through, Gerald, and be the 4th guy. Like there has to be somebody who breaks through that membrane because we need that 4th guard. We need that 4th guard to play well. On top of it,
Once again, the Lakers did win today, 109-101 in Anaheim at the Honda Center over the Sacramento Kings. The next game is coming up on Friday, right there for you, 7 p.m. Pacific, right there on playback.tv. Lakers Fast Break against the Golden State Warriors at the Crypt. So looking forward to that. Magic Man, I know that Zangerstein would be psyched if we actually did something for the WNBA Finals coming up for Game 3 on Sunday, which I'm contemplating at this point in time. Z, I'll send an email if we can go ahead and set something up. Maybe we'll do something on Sunday especially for that. We'd love to give a big shout out to the WNBA, especially you and I, Sean. So definitely like to see what happens there. But before we go head on out, because we still got plenty to talk about here on today's show, so don't anybody go away right now. We still got much more to talk about. Please go ahead and hit the like button and also share and subscribe. And if you've got a friend out there that wants to go ahead and catch a great Lakers post game, tell them to come on over and join the party right here at the Lakers Fast Break. I want to go ahead and touch on, if you can, real quick, my friend. Tell me what you thought of Rui Hashimoto's performance. Again, he got the contract. Some people thought it was overpay. A lot of people thought it was an overpay or a slight overpay. 13 points, 6 rebounds. Nothing stands out there. I just think he's finding himself. He's finding that comfortability level out there where he fits as far as the scheme of things, whether he's in the starting lineup or whether he's coming off the bench. I just think he's going to be a great utility role player for us. And as long as we're counting on him to do just that, I think everything's going to be okay. It's when if we're asking him to do a lot more or do anything more or try to step it up as a star player, I think that's when things are going to be coming unraveled. But for now, when it comes to Rui Hashimura playing within himself and playing as part of the plan and playing part of the rotation, as we've seen, I think he'll be just fine.
yeah, absolutely, Gerald. And as you said, utility. If you want to, I prefer Swiss Army knife, but yeah, that's who he is. I mean, when he's our chameleon in the front court. You need a screener for AD or LeBron. Rui's the man for the job. Need somebody to make the open shot in the corner or the wing above the break. Rui's on the job. Need somebody to hit the boards really hard. Rui's for the job. He's always willing to do the job. And as you said, Gerald, 13 points, 6 and 6. That's a bit of a below average game for Rui, but it's not anything that would necessarily concern you. But yeah, I think he's just like you said, trying to find his role here. His mid range looks really nice. His mid range looks really nice. So if AD's shot is better back on the mend, at least the mid range, then you've got two really good mid range shooters there alongside a LeBron and probably a couple other guards. So uh, as you said, he's our Swiss Army knife. It's going to be a real selective process which Rui you're going to see, but I think he's ready to fit the bill. Whatever the Lakers need him to do, we've seen it, and we've also seen Gerald that LeBron James has a lot of faith in Rui. He's the only Lakers player he worked out with exclusively this summer.
Mhm.
So, Gerald, if you had an opportunity to work with one of the three greatest basketball players of all time, and he was in your ear every day for 3 months, you'd be a sponge, wouldn't you?
You would. You would think so.
So,
Absolutely.
so I think it's going to pay dividends. We may not see it right away, but I think Rui's been a sponge this summer around LeBron, and he's going to be very important, Jared. We talked about this. Like, we don't really care who starts, but we sure as hell know that at the end of the game, most nights, closing time, Rui's going to be one of the five most of the time. Sans foul trouble or matchup issues, he's going to be there. When you agree, Gerald?
I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's again, it's not always about who starts, it's about who finishes, but the Lakers have not always gotten off to great starts in the first and third quarter, so I do think it should be a point of emphasis for them, especially when we talked about for most of the season last season about how the third quarter was seemingly their enemy because they were at one time the worst team in the third quarter statistically. And it was just not even funny. I know I brought that up on more than one occasion during our shows last season. So it was nice to see once they made the trade that started to turn around. And we saw it today, where the first and third quarter, the Lakers won both those quarters. And in the third case, in the third quarter, it was quite handily. And I was just really just excited to see that we're playing rotation guys for the most part outside of D'Lo, and we're playing him against the starters for the Sacramento Kings, a playoff team no less, a team that finished higher in the season rankings than we did last season. So to see them perform at that level today, mind you, it's still an exhibition game. It was very promising and just shows you maybe that the depth we had talked about for all summer long, that everybody had to hear at nauseum, that the depth, the depth, the depth, the depth, the depth may not be so bad after all.
Yeah, no,
Might be pretty darn good.
yeah. I think we'll have to wait and see. I mean, it could be top. It could be top shelf. We think it's at very least a medium upgrade. It could be a top shelf upgrade. Wait to see, but yeah. The Sacramento Kings were missing Keegan Murray Gerald. He's a very important cog in what they do offensively and defensively. He kind of gives some balance, especially along the perimeter. But that being said, everybody played well tonight in their roles. Sans JHS defensively, and we definitely
And
saw
shooting
and
wise, but
shooting and
yeah.
shooting. But other than that, pretty good effort by everyone.
But
Um,
playmaking wise, I did see some improvements from JHS, so I do want to
yeah,
give him
big
some
time,
credit.
big time, big time. Let's see. Gerald, 25 assists, 40 makes is pretty darn good. That's a six, five. That's a 63% assist percentage. That's pretty darn good. So they
So
were they were moving the ball well, and
yeah.
we saw some shots didn't fall, but they moved it around the horn. There was a lot more around the horn action than we've seen in the past two games.
One of the things I want to ask you before we head on out, my friend, is that we made a big deal on last night's show. Are we comfortable with the Lakers shooting more threes? We've heard in recent days Coach Darvin Ham talk about how he wants AD to shoot six threes and how that he wants the team to increase its 3-point output but not go crazy. We saw on the Monday game in Las Vegas here they took 55 attempts, which was 24 more than what they averaged last season. Today it looked more and more like it was more of a carbon copy of what we saw last season, with them only taking 30 attempts from behind the arc. They did outshoot at the free throw line Sacramento Kings, which is something they haven't done this exhibition season, which is something they did actually most of last season. We talked about how much they dominated the free throw line. And overall, they were 41 to 82, very efficient inside the arc for a 50% clip overall. Your thoughts on this, my friend? No, it did not get the high octane winning formula that most of these teams are looking forward to right now. But we do get a chance to go ahead and see them really play and get the win over a team that was playing all of its starters.
Yeah, yeah.
Which should help your theory on load management, my friend, because I know that you had some issues on load management. So before we head on out, my friend, I know there's still much more to talk about on today's program, but I know you wanted to mention something. And gosh, I wish Joe was here, because Joe, I know he's like in mourning because the Dodgers lost, and he's probably just punched his, through maybe his fist through a TV or something like that, or maybe he's scouring, looking for money, or trying to hit people up for money as far as collections or whatnot, as we saw him the other night. Or maybe he's on the run. I don't know what's going on over there. But your thoughts, though, my friend, on load management? I know it's a big issue with him, it's a big issue with the league, and I think it's also a big issue with you as well.
Yeah, it has been, Gerald. And this bomb got dropped this afternoon. A lot of people are talking about it, so I figured we need to talk about it as well. So it turns out that all this talk about load management has been a lot of baloney. A lot of baloney.
According to certain scientific and statistical
To
analysis.
analysis, yes, and
But of course, that's what the league puts out there.
yes,
Who
Matt
put
Wa-
that? Who put that out there? Who put the
who?
statistic on?
Yeah, exactly. Who leaked it? Who leaked it? I
Happened to be
haven't.
by the league that put that
Yeah,
out there.
the league actually put it out themselves, Gerald, and
I think the Players Association would find another company to do another statistical analysis that would work the opposite of that. So the
of course,
truth is usually somewhere in between.
yes, it is. That being said, Gerald, there's a history to this though. Let me take you back to 2012, okay?
Okay.
In
Going back in the
2012,
Wayback Machine.
yeah. So in 2012, the Spurs were playing a nationalized television game, Gerald, on TNT against the Heat. It
Mm-hmm.
was a highly touted matchup. They were both performing very well at that point, and it was thought of as a potential finals preview.
Yeah.
Now, if you'll remember, Gerald, Greg Popovich, about an hour and a half before tip, released the injury report and the status report, and said that Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, and Danny Green would all be out for rest.
Yep.
Rest. Do you remember that? Do you remember that the narrative of that game at all, Gerald?
Yes, I
Oh,
remember.
yes. Although the Spurs were playing with basically their role players and rotational players, they almost won that game with LeBron, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade all playing. That infuriated David Stern beyond all measure, Gerald. He fined the Spurs $250,000, which was a lot of money back then in 2012
Yeah.
for a team to be fined. Next year, Gerald, 2013, similar scenario. The Spurs are playing the Warriors on national television. Pop does the same thing. Sits all three guys plus Danny gets fined again. Gerald, the load management, that was the buzz. That was the buzz phrase. That didn't come to appear until 2018, 2019 with the Raptors and Kawhi Leonard. I know the Spurs often get plagued by the load management phrase, but it was actually first adopted by the Raptors. And now in 2023, Gerald, Joe Dumars and Matt Walsh, who are very high executives in the NBA offices, were doing exactly what me and Joe and you and other fans around this league were doing. They were pounding their hands on the table saying, what you're doing is a lot of baloney, and you're costing the league and the Players Association money. Money. And time again in that article, it kept bringing up the same thing, Gerald. The TV contracts, the TV contracts. Because all these network executives, Gerald, they're sitting down, they're having lunch with Adam Silver and Joe Dumars and Matt Walsh, and they're having the same complaint year in and year out. You're sitting your stars when we pay you a lot of money. And it's suffered, Gerald. The product has suffered. The ratings have suffered. You know it. You do this for a living, Gerald. You know it. So now that it's come to a head, how do you feel about this bomb being dropped? Because Gerald, normally when somebody needs to drop news like this and it's bad publicity, they usually wait till about a Friday, right? A Friday afternoon when the news cycle is like really slowed down, but they released this on a Wednesday. How do you feel about all this?
Again, it's just who is the source. It's not a leak. It's actually just a report by that's put out there by the NBA, with their individuals that was covering this, or the company that whoever they got to go ahead and do the statistical analysis, saying that load management is not an effective means to an end for the league and for its players. Again, I think if you saw it from the player's perspective, they would say otherwise. So it's a situation where the league wants its cake and eat it too. The players want their cake and eat it too. At some
But
point in time, ultimately, they come together, they split the cake in half, and they both have the cake.
I,
And with the
I,
new deal for the TV that's in place, doesn't matter if the ratings have declined, in recent years, although it actually trended up here until the finals, which unfortunately after the first game was really not worked out that well. But again, for the most part, the playoffs were a success ratings wise. The league is looking to sign a fat new TV contract here in the not too distant future. They're about to bring in two expansion teams with a big, huge paycheck, coming in because of them. So I don't feel sorry for the league at all. I also don't feel sorry for the players because the players, with the way that the league is trying to set things up as far as having, minimize as many, back to back games as possible, trying to stretch these games out more, trying to make it easier on their schedules, and providing them a little bit more comforts and just quality of life things that are going to help them out. Again, I don't feel sorry for both these sides, but for every report that the NBA is going to put out there that supports their theories and biases, you're going to get one from another side as well saying the exact opposite. It just, the truth, as always in these cases, is somewhere in the middle.
yes, I agree with that. I'll also
And by the
say
way,
that.
Hannah, you're the second person to say that about Kai Jones. We'll talk about Charlotte's troubles here in a sec, and that will include Kai Jones because I think I'm in agreement with you, Hannah. And welcome. Appreciate you being part of the Lakers fast break. Go ahead, Magic Man. We'll
No,
finish up on the load
thank
management.
you very much, Hannah. Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, Gerald. Yeah, that's very true. I will also say this. Uh, People are right when they can kind of throw out the hypothesis that, well, the PA can turn around and decide to hire their own scientific experts to deviate from what the league has said, and that's true. You can A lot of people pay for studies and can prove a lot of things. I will say this though, Gerald, a lot of these injuries that we have seen in the NBA have been the result of non-contact, a player jumping up, falling on their foot, falling awkwardly, and unfortunately that leads to serious injury. So I think what Joe Dumars and Matt Walsh were basically saying is there's a correlation here. There's a correlation that you're making. You're saying that because of the high the high stress of games, the compacted schedule, the practice time, travel,
But it's
fatigue.
also the
All
players
but
themselves. But also
right,
the
right,
players
but
themselves.
the
They become
players,
bigger, faster, stronger, can
right,
jump
and
higher.
right, but that's what I'm trying to finish is that there's no causation. They can't find a cause for it. There's no, you can't tell the league is telling the players association, you guys can't come up with any reason scientifically why there are more injuries or why you can't. not sleep cycles, not training, not practice time, compacted schedule. So
Just
it leads people to down a road, Gerald, where you're thinking, what's going on here? And I'll just leave it at that. I mean, I think people like myself and Joe and you, Gerald, are vindicated over a report like this
it
because
just seems though that the NBA is going, see, look, it's the report right here. See,
well, I get
see,
it. I get it.
we were right, Magic, we were right, Magic, we were right. That's what they were saying. That's when they go to do these things. It's what it sounds like to me. It's a little bit petty, but again, for every report that we see from the NBA that says this, we're going to see reports from either an independent source or an NBA players related source that says the opposite, and we're just going to have to deal with this going forward because you're never going to convince the players to be different or be conditioned differently than what you're seeing right now. So it just at this point it just seems like okay, we've got it in where they have to play a certain number of games. I think that's probably getting close to probably the best we're going to be able to do it because once you open up Pandora's box, what happened with San Antonio, it's not going to change back to the way it once was. If you're absolutely expecting what the old way of playing, like Darren talks about, and I reminisce about, and Joe reminisces about, and you reminisce about the old days when everybody used to play 80 games and basically used to play on one leg, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that we saw. Those days are far over and they're in the rearview mirror and they're not coming back anytime soon unless they are contractually obligated to do so. And if the best you're going to get is 65 games, a minimum in order to qualify for these things and be able to go ahead and produce, I think that's probably the best you're going to get for now until we can come up with something better. But I can only take so much stock in what the NBA says for a report on it because again, where's the source coming from? It's coming from the NBA. Does not behoove them to put out a report that says, "Hey, maybe this load management thing really works." No, they're not going to put out something like that because it would take away their own best interests.
Yeah, it would, especially at the cost of when they're in prime time, because
Yeah.
uh, as you know, Gerald, entertainment is a funny commodity. What's popular today isn't popular tomorrow, and if your product is diluted because your best players, your best employees aren't available at the most important time for the company, that's an issue for both sides, not
I don't
just
know about
one.
that, Darren. I'm just gonna say, of course, nobody, that at that point in time could jump higher than Dominique and Jordan and Kemp and I said, of course, the great players that you said on that list. But so many players now that are not going to be remembered a long time from now can jump out of the building at this point in time. Now in today's NBA, a lot of those guys were playing against guys that could not or were not athletic in it was like a hybrid years back in the 80s was still like some of the 60s and 70s left over, and you started seeing some of the 80s and 90s kick in as far as the way the game was being played and who was playing it. You saw a little bit of combination from both. I will tell you though, Magic, again, to me, this league, as long as it tries to do better, to do its fans justice, that's all we can ask. They are taking steps, but the players, once you open up that Pandora's box, it's just going to be the way they want it to be as best they can. They're not going to go ahead and have it the way it once was so long ago. So we're just going to have to go ahead and move on from that and just realize that, you know what, if we get 65 to 75 games out of these guys, out of the star players, I think then we'll be blessed. And in fact, as long as we can go ahead and continue to do that, if that's what we'll work towards, I think that's going to be okay for most people.
Yes, it will be. Most people would be satisfied with that.
Absolutely, indeed. But again, the Lakers did win 109-101. Truly appreciate you joining us. It's the Lakers Fast Break. It's Magic Man Sean Grice along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again for watching and listening. Truly appreciate it. But before we head on out, and before we talk a little bit Lakers before we head on out, I want to get into the mess within a span of 24 hours known as the Charlotte Hornets. Today, because of the issues that have gone on in recent days in regarding to Kai Jones, they waived him. And then, according to the New York Post and other sources, I guess more, I guess, charges were handed down to Miles Bridges on another episode that looks like that he wasn't informed, to the Charlotte Hornets. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that before we head on out, my friend?
Yes, absolutely, Gerald. Unfortunately, during the summer, Kai Jones um, released a couple of very bizarre, very indecipherable, incomprehensible videos on IG Live. He was rambling. He was sweating profusely in one of the uh, episodes, Gerald. His eyes were bloodshot. A lot of people during the IG Live were actually concerned about Kai Jones and were asking him if he was on drugs. He denied it. But then subsequently, he released a second video. Again, very indecipherable, incomprehensible gibberish, just mindless talking. Uh, this is a player, Gerald, who had a lot of potential and was a
Yes.
darling uh, in the first round coming out of Texas. As Gerald, I remember Gerald saying that he saw a lot of promise in Jones as well, along with a lot of other people, but he just couldn't put it together those first couple years, Gerald, and they limited him significantly. This past year, he only averaged 3 points and 2.5 boards. Um, and they just had enough of him. I think there were whispers that he wasn't going to see much of any playing time, considering you've got PJ Washington, Mark Williams battling for the 4 and 5 spot in Charlotte, and you thought Kai Jones was going to make an effort this year to try and assert himself. Nope, he requested a trade from the Charlotte Hornets 2 days ago, Gerald. Um, I don't
So,
think
so
any.
bringing it back to Hannah, is it somebody think, as I mentioned under playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break Live Watch Party, I mentioned there that I thought
Intriguing. He's
intriguing.
intriguing. He's
Should the
intriguing.
Lakers be intrigued a little bit more? Or is there
I
too much baggage there right now? The Clippers are taking a chance on
Gerald,
Josh Primo.
yeah, Gerald asks great questions, ladies and gentlemen. This is why he's the Podfather. Uh,
Well, Hannah
if
asked it also as well. I
yeah,
want to give her credit
yeah,
too.
absolutely. If I would say this, if the Lakers did not have Jackson Hayes right now, and they were still looking for that kind of player, I would say absolutely in a heartbeat. I'd put a claim in on Kai Jones. I really would. Um, but the fact is, we have Jackson Hayes right now. His baggage, that would have to be. I always believe in giving people second chances, Gerald. No matter what.
Including Joe?
Including Joe. Yeah, I always believe in second chances, third chances. For I'm just that kind of person. I believe in the redemption of the person and the soul. I'm not ready to give up on Kai Jones as a person, nor as a basketball player. I think somebody's going to take a chance on him. If we didn't have Jackson Hayes, I'd say the Lakers would be in an opportune position because he is an intriguing talent. But I don't think the Lakers will make a move on Kai Jones yet.
Once again, it's the Lakers Fast Break. The Lakers do win 109-101. Into Wild, appreciate the super chat as always. We won. Yes, we won. Always great to have a victory exhibition or regular season on hand. No worries about that. Definitely like it. But I will tell you though, before we head on out, we want to add one more bad note to Charlotte Hornets, and that's Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges, we just heard, is facing another arrest warrant stemming from a domestic violence charge. That's the report based off of now several sources, but I think the New York Post, if I'm not mistaken, put it out there first. Your thoughts on this, my friend, because this was someone who, in a recent, press conference, was talking about he was so grateful for his second chance. And I don't know when this incident occurred. You're saying it happened sometime back before he came back to the Charlotte Hornets. If that's the case, it's Mitch Kupchak and the entire executive board, the GMs, and the people responsible for bringing this kid back. They didn't do their due diligence, and it's also obviously cost them once again.
Yes, Gerald. It's a very disturbing, distasteful, disgraceful series of events now with this particular
This is
young
in
man.
January.
January.
Yeah.
So an unserved arrest warrant from January. I'm not a lawyer. I don't pretend to be one. But if you have an unserved arrest warrant, that tells me that the law is basically saying we're trying to give you a second chance here. Now, obviously, Gerald, somewhere along the way, there's been a displacement of common sense and decency in the series of events with the Charlotte Hornets and Miles Bridges. He's a very troubled person, sir. And I don't think he needs to be anywhere near a basketball court. I think he needs to be sitting down in a chair talking to somebody about his real problems, Gerald, because he has real problems.
My
And
friend. Go ahead.
yeah, I just wanted to finish. And the fact is that enough is enough with this league. They have turned a blind eye, and now it feels like they have two blind eyes, Gerald, when it comes to domestic violence. Look, there was a great NBA player at one point. His name was Alvin Robertson. Alvin Robertson is a former Defensive Player of the Year. He is a former player who only 5 players have had a quadruple double in one game. He is one of them. Alvin Robertson would be in the Hall of Fame today if he didn't beat women. But he had a problem. He couldn't keep his hands to himself, and that's why he found himself out of the league at a certain point of time, and that's why he's been in and out of jail after the NBA. The NBA doesn't need this, Gerald. We don't need these kinds of people in our league who have no respect, no care, no empathy for women. For women, Gerald. This is getting to be tiring with this league. It's sick. It's to a sick level. And I want it to stop. And I need this league to make examples out of Kevin Porter Jr. and Miles Bridges because of these incidents.
Ban them
So
for
that
life.
yes, so this is a lesson that this will never be tolerated. And if you do it, you are gone.
Agreed.
I hope Miles Bridges never plays another game in the NBA, Gerald. As talented a player as he is, you do not deserve the privilege to play basketball. If that's what it is at the end of the day, it is not your right. It's not your right to drive. It's not your right to put your hands on someone else. It's not your right to play basketball and think you can get away with anything that you feel like. That's not the way the world works. And I don't want to see Miles Bridges on a basketball court ever again.
Joe. And on that note, Joe is, according to the rumors that have been circulated throughout our show today, he has put on a little bit of a shot of Patron, from what I hear, in honor of the Dodgers getting swept out of the baseball playoffs. Poor Joe, we feel sorry for you, my friend. Hopefully you are surviving there in the chat, right there for you. The best Lakers chat room that's out there, Lakers Fast Break. Great points by Magic. I do appreciate you sharing your thoughts on that. I couldn't agree with you any more
Uh,
than I do on that. It's absolutely intolerable, and that the league, I understand with all these bad influences. We saw it in the early 2000s where, they were talking about, the fights, and they were talking about the image of the league and all that. And the league took steps to try and eradicate that to an extent. And for a while, the league looked like it was on the straight and narrow and going in great places, especially in the last decade. But unfortunately, in recent times, we've seen them go off the handle again. With Morant doing what he's doing on Instagram Live on more than one occasion, we now see the domestic violence issues with both, of course, Porter Jr. and now what's happening again with Miles Bridges. It's a black eye for the league, and they need to go ahead and just say, you know what, work with the players union and just say, players union, this is bad. It's a bad image. It's a bad look. And the players that continually do this over and over, we can no longer accept and tolerate at this point in time. It
Yes,
got to be
it
expelled
has
from the
it,
league,
it.
expelled
This
from the
is a
league entirely.
this is a message sender, Gerald. He did it. He did it before with Donald Sterling, and that was his first big move as a commissioner. He said, "Enough. This guy has got to go," and he set an example. He set a precedent. He has to set a precedent now that these two guys, they're not they're not the disease, but they're a symptom of the disease, Gerald. They really
Mhm.
are. They really are. You cannot have these kinds of men in these kinds of environments, Gerald. There's too much at stake. You have business partners. You also have a league, Gerald, that is 50% viewership is women. 50%. That means half your viewership is women. Women aren't going to approve of this,
No,
nor should they. Nor
no.
should they. And they're not going to continue to imbibe the product and be a fan if this continues. We need to set the example here. The NFL will not set the example. They will never do that. They're cowards. They're cowardly people. They don't care about this. And maybe you're out there saying, "Well, the NBA, they don't care about this either." And maybe you're right. But publicly, they have a different view. Publicly, Adam Silver has said emphatically that he wants to rid the NBA of these kinds of problems, and he should. And he has an example right now, and he needs to set it. Ban them for life, before somebody gets killed, Gerald. And then what are we going to do as a society? What happens then?
Absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. Once again, it's the Lakers fast break. The Lakers do win 109-101. Before we head on out, Intel Wild asked the question, Kawhi, Harden, or Simmons, who's stolen more money? And thank you so much again. Awesome and truly appreciate the super chat once again. I said Simmons in the chat room because I just think Simmons has given you less for what you've been paying him for than both Kawhi or Harden. So I really think it's probably Simmons in my book. Your thoughts, my friend? Who has stolen the most money?
That's a good question, Intel. Simmons. Harden, game seven away from an NBA Finals, and he was missing his other superstar. Several All NBA seasons, several groundbreaking offensive productive seasons. Uh, Underwhelming in the playoffs, 100%. Overall, pretty good career. But yeah, it feels like he's taken teams to the cleaners until I could understand why a lot of people feel that way. Kawhi, injuries aside, All NBA player, has played a significant role in two separate championship teams. Um, I would say the answer is Simmons. I agree with Gerald. By process of elimination.
I will tell you this before we go. There's another super chat that Intel Wild has for us. So it's another controversial case. I guess that was settled recently, and I'm looking at what's going on in the chat right now. I'm looking also at what's going on as far as the latest news and notes. Within the past week, the Trevor Bauer case has been, I guess, a little bit more come to light as far as the answers and the results from that. I know Joe would have a lot of comments if he were sober and here in the chat with us right now, but unfortunately, he is drinking a hearty drink, unfortunately, at the behest of the Dodgers getting swept out of the playoffs. But speaking of the Dodgers, my friend, Intel Wild, and again, thank you for the super chat. Says, can we talk just a bit about Trevor Bauer? He according to Intel, he was innocent, but his career was ruined. That's not right or fair, because what came out of it, my friend, as far as the situation, as far as the, I guess the accuser, uh, just a lot of back and forth. I'm looking up now. Your thoughts, my friend. Are you more familiar with the Trevor Bauer situation than I am on it? Because obviously, I heard initially what went on and what went down, and it sounded very ugly, and it looked like it was very ugly for him. But it looks like something has been settled in this case.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I've heard the details additionally to that story, Gerald. My original remembrance of it was that it was very sordid.
He made a public statement for the first time in recent
Oh,
days.
oh, did he? What did he
Yes.
say?
He said he was just basically glad to go ahead and finally be able to tell his story. Hopefully, it's the last time I have to do so, as I prefer to remain focused on doing my job, winning baseball games, entertaining fans around the world. In the video, he showed a series of text messages that Hill, I guess the person that accused him, insinuating a setup on her part. Some of the messages showed conversations where Hill said, "I'm going to his house Wednesday. I already got my hooks in." And in a later text message in relation to a conversation about Bauer's net worth, Hill said, "Need daddy to choke me out," and quote, being an absolute, won't say this on our show, to try and get in on his 51 million. So I don't know. It just, that's pretty damning words right there, my friend. I guess a personal video of Hill, which Bauer said was sent to her friends minutes after she left his apartment, according to the metadata, showed her lying in bed next to Bauer, smiling and with, yeah, just a whole bunch of other stuff. I mean, I guess LA Weekly has a full article on it if you want to check it out. And I'm actually going to go ahead and put it in our chat. So it looks more and more like, all that was said and done, or what was supposedly said and done, was not so said and done with Trevor Bauer, my friend.
Yeah, Gerald. You know what? I mean that despite this, despite what's going on here, um,
His
she
life was
suffered.
ruined. His life was
She
ruined to an extent. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it was. It was. And look, I,
And the answer is no, Kurt. You will not have me saying that as for our new subscribers. I would rather appreciate that not be the case. But I get your sentiment, and LOL on that one. Go ahead, Sean.
yeah. Well, Gerald,
Kurt's trying to lighten the mood, and I get that. Much
no,
appreciated.
I do too. I just, we don't want to get into this situation where, um, look, there was a slogan a few years ago I disagreed with. Believe, no, but listen. Listen to claims. Listen to claims that people have. That is important, rather than just believing something before you have all the facts. We have facts with Kevin Porter Jr. and Miles Bridges. We had facts, apparently, with what happened with Trevor Bauer, and now things have apparently changed a little bit. Gerald, I will say this: Bauer made the decision to sleep with this person. He made that decision. Now, what happens in a consensual act is between two people. But when somebody says no, or somebody says hit me, stop what you're doing. Just stop it. Put your clothes back on and leave.
Yeah.
Nobody calls the police, Gerald. Nobody calls the police. Nobody ends up getting arrested.
Well,
Nobody files a police report. Everybody just gargles some whiskey and is able to wake up the next morning consequence free.
I will
However,
just I will just finish this. Let's finish this conversation, because let's get back to the Lakers here. But I
yeah,
will finish this conversation. The LA Weekly reports that there was a financial settlement discussed, but he, on the video, Trevor Bauer says he will not pay her run red cent, because it is now proving that he is innocent of these charges. So again, it looks like Trevor Bauer, his life was ruined to an extent by some false accusations that was there. I know that the media, like you said, Intel should get more into this because it wasn't readily discussed. It wasn't readily out there and presented at a high form. It was obviously when it first happened. ESPN and other entities just were reporting it like crazy. But now that it's gone a different route and they have not been reporting it with the same fervor, which again, like I said, I wasn't aware of it even being at this point. So, and I'm usually trying to stay on top of things in the sports world. So that tells you right there, it does not, uh, I don't know if it just didn't seem as important to the ESPNs of the world and other entities of the world
Ger-
that they were able to report what the outcome of this was, as opposed to just what it was like in the beginning.
Gerald, and I'll say this, and it's a brilliant quote, and a lot of people haven't seen this series. There's an HBO series called Oz about prison,
Mhm.
and there's a great actor named Anthony Chisholm who played a character named Red, and Red had a quote: "Motives are less important than outcomes." The fact is that Trevor Bauer isn't playing baseball right now, Gerald.
Yeah. Well, he was playing in Japan, but I get what you mean. He should have,
MLB
he
baseball, the best
had,
baseball in the
yeah,
world.
he could have been playing for the Dodgers and could have prevented them from getting swept.
Motives are less important than outcomes. And what
Yeah.
happened is that whatever you want to say, Gerald, Trevor Bauer ended up in a situation that he himself put himself into. Nobody put a gun to his head and said, "You need to have this woman over and do what they did." He did that voluntarily. He entered into a consensual act voluntarily,
All right.
and
Search is, but let's
all
get back here in a
yeah.
second. We
Let's
finish
go
up.
to the Lakers then.
Yeah.
Let's go
Search
because you
is,
know what?
search is asking. Yeah.
It takes two to tango. That's all I'm saying. You know what?
Okay.
Trevor Bauer isn't completely innocent in all this, Gerald.
Okay. I mean, he put himself into a situation that was very difficult, and obviously, whatever was said and not said, and the manipulation and all the stuff
Yeah, and
behind it.
we could
Yeah.
talk about it till the
Yeah.
cows come home. Mike Tyson was in a similar situation. Do you know what Mike Tyson said years later, ladies and gentlemen? I put myself in that situation and I shouldn't have been there.
Oh, there you go, indeed. But once again, the Lakers do win 109 to 101. We did that for you, Intel, because you were able to go ahead and provide us with that great question on the super chat. And it enlightened me because, again, I didn't get that kind of notice out there. And that's something I try to keep a track on as far as all the major news going on in all the different areas of sports. So definitely it did not get reported as well enough. And I think I fault the media on that end for not reporting that end of it as well as they reported on the front end. So I fault them for that. But getting back to the Lakers, before we head on out, my friend, the game on Friday, you talked about how you were expecting LeBron to be able to play with this limited schedule on Friday, but not Sunday. I, on the other hand, seeing how we will see the debut of Damian Lillard from the Milwaukee Bucks on Sunday against the Lakers, thinking he'll want to play on Sunday against the Bucks, thinking that's where he'll play next. Your thoughts, though, on why that's the case and why you think Friday against the Warriors at home at the Crypt will be more likely.
Oh, wow, you made a convincing argument for me, Joel. I think it's going to be Sunday, but I mean, something tells me he wants to play Friday. He wants to play the Warriors. Um, I just get, but Gerald makes a convincing point. He might want to show his wares against the Bucks, but I mean, you, the Lakers and Bucks only played twice. You're playing the Warriors four times this year. Um, so if I had to flip a coin on it, Gerald, I'd probably go with the Bucks on Sunday.
Okay, well, that's just me. I'm just thinking that if that's the case, once we heard the reports earlier today on Twitter/X that we are going to get to see Damian Lillard, we're probably going to see that's the case Giannis Antetokounmpo on Sunday. That he might be more amped to play that. Plus, it's getting closer to it'll be the fifth uh, exhibition game. Maybe he won't play in the sixth exhibition game. Because like you said, the sixth one is in Palm Springs. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. At
Yeah.
Palm
So most
Springs
likely he won't play that one. So I have a
at the
feeling
at
that
at the Acrisure. Arena, the Acrisure in Palm Springs. Is that
Gesundheit.
yeah.
But I will say this though, when it comes to what we'll see, I think again you could probably see one good quarter from the whole both teams on Sunday's game. Definitely looking forward to that. But I will say this though, Friday's game against Golden State, I think the Lakers won't play as bad as they did on Saturday. I do not think that they will provide two stinkers in a row against Golden State, with or without LeBron James in the lineup, my friend.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either, Gerald. And it's kind of interesting here. They Golden State themselves also has a similar schedule. They play on Friday and they play on Sunday. So I
Mhm.
have to expect probably Steph and or uh, Clay may not play Friday either. So uh, that portends to something there, Gerald. I would have to expect, if LeBron James comes out and says, "Well, I'm not playing Friday," I would almost expect the same from the Warriors. Um, but that being said, they did sit out that first exhibition game against them. It doesn't really settle for me that he'd sit a second time, especially at the crypt. But Gerald makes a convincing argument, so yeah, I just think he's gonna sit on Friday and play Sunday. Look, I hope Maxwell Lewis continues to play his game because he has. He's either deciding to shoot, pass, or dribble. Gerald, I mean, this game.
I will say though that it is right now something that I'm looking forward to seeing what happens on Friday with the Golden State Warriors. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to go on with that. But I will say that it's going to be a good game regardless. So I think Zangerstein is saying that LeBron is going to be playing that day as opposed to Sunday, and that no one will play it against Sunday. I have a feeling I'm just guessing that it might be the other way around, simply because LeBron and his competitive spirit and maybe getting his last test of the exhibition season will be playing against a team that many are favoring to win the NBA championship. So that's what I'm thinking. But Golden State is always Golden State, and so you never know. LeBron may feel the impetus to go ahead and play for the first time against Golden State in the
I would,
exhibition season on Friday.
yeah, and Gerald, I'll say this: I would prefer to see Anthony Davis sit one of those games as well. I'm not sure
Mhm.
which one he's going to decide not to play in, but I would love to see him play Friday and sit Sunday. You know,
Okay. But
look,
that's
he's got nothing to prove. He had a great game against both Brooke and Giannis last year. Gerald, what we remember, right?
yeah.
That was kind of the most important game pre-trade. It was a road game in a hostile environment. Milwaukee was playing very well, and the Lakers went in there and they beat the Bucks on the road. That was their biggest win outside of the trade. I don't think they have anything to prove. You have a point. I'm sure Damian Lillard thinks he has something to prove now, and maybe they do end up playing in that preseason game.
Well, for Damian Lillard, it's going to be out working out with his new teammates out on the floor in an exhibition game. So obviously, that's trying to work the stuff out with his teammates, because
Well,
that's going to be stuff.
yeah, he's played in one already, so
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. But again, that's my guess. We don't know for sure. But if you follow at Lakers Fast Break on Twitter, I will give you as soon as the word comes down on whether or not LeBron and the others will play or not play. We'll go ahead and make sure we retweet it there for everyone out there. But Magic Man, again, solid win for the Lakers. Absolutely playing against some of the best that are on the Kings team and playing against their starters for 20 plus minutes. The Lakers came out on top with D Angelo Russell and the rotation players. Your thoughts on tonight's game before we head on out?
Gerald, it was good to see all these young guys get into the victory column again. Look, we understand it's preseason. We understand you need to take everything with a granular of salt. The fact is, they got 2 wins down the preseason. You never want to go into the season with an 0-4. You always want to end the preseason at least with a taste of victory. They've got that so far. So now I really hope they just take these next three games and forge a concerted effort to do your best, whatever your best is. Jackson Hayes, your best is rolling, setting screens, being the active, high IQ player that I've seen so far. Maxwell Lewis, keep running the floor like the Greyhound that you are. Dribble, drive, or shoot. You'll be doing one of the three. Want to see a little bit more improvement out of Jackson, out of Hood Shafino here, Gerald. Jalen is has a lot of promise as a young player. Just needs to get better defensively. Just improvement all the way around. We know what the vets are going to do. It's just, can these young players continue to sustain their effort? And Colin Castleton, for God's sakes, please, please, please work on that jump hook, because sometimes it goes in, sometimes it doesn't, but it does not look pretty right now.
I will tell you what, though, 7 rebounds from him, 2 block shots, a little bit more effective inside the paint on the defensive end. So definitely appreciated that, because sometimes he gives away a lot of strength and muscle. And, today we were able to see a much better version of that. So he had his best exhibition game so far as well. So give him a shout out. Demoy Hodge, unfortunately, still struggling. JHS, shooting wise and defensive wise, still struggling, although he did a better job playmaking today. Maxwell Lewis, pretty good off the bench today, coming off the bench, getting some time and really showcasing some of his skills. So, the rookies have been like hit or miss for us so far. But again, that's what rookies are all about, my friend, hit or miss.
That's it, Gerald. You either hit them or you miss them.
Absolutely.
First year. Look, more positive. Look, Gerald, I know everybody thinks we've been really harsh. I think they're more positive than negative.
Well, we've gotten
But we're
emails to
asked,
say we've been too
yeah,
harsh.
I know. We're asked to give our opinion,
Yes.
unfiltered, unabashed. What you see is what you get. That's what Gerald has asked for us, because that's what the audience has asked of us. So we're gonna give it to you straight, and there are more positives than negatives. Some negatives fall on JHS and his defense, and like we've said, things are just happening too fast for him. The game needs to slow down for him, and that takes work in the G League with developmental coaches who have uh, your best at heart. They want to see you succeed as well. Nobody in South Bay wants to continue see JHS, Gerald. If he
Yes.
go when he goes down there, they want to actually see him in the big show playing a significant role. But he needs work.
I will tell you what, though, it's great having everyone here, though. Great crowd once again today. Everybody is greatly appreciated by us for being here. The Lakers Fast Break, the best Lakers chat room that's out there is the Lakers Fast Break. Also, as well, go ahead. If you have any questions for us, put it below in the comments. We do get to them. Also, as well, you can go ahead and send us an email, LakersFastBreak@yahoo.com. We've almost got everybody together for our repeat of the Lakers Fast Break Yahoo Fantasy Basketball League, but we need more people. If you're interested, give me a shout out, LakersFastBreak@yahoo.com. Love to have you go ahead and be part of what we do there on the Lakers Fast Break Fantasy Basketball League. In fact, I'm getting Sean to join me this time around, so I'm anxiously waiting for that. Also, as well, I might be asking people out there in our chat to go ahead and share their extensive thoughts on what their projections are for this upcoming season as far as in the Eastern and Western Conference, because I asked last year from our panelists for that. I'd love to hear from you ahead of time. So I may be going ahead and asking, or if you want to go ahead and start putting in your 1 to 15 in each and every conference, might want to let us know. LakersFastBreak@yahoo.com. And last but not least, I want to go ahead, Magic, and once again, just to pitch this, because I know not everybody has checked out our video, and I see the numbers. Not everybody has checked it out. If you get a chance or listen to it, please, our conversation with Rich Cohen, when the game was war, the NBA's greatest season. It was a great conversation, an hour long conversation. Our last Lakers History 101. It's actually in the playlist below that you see right below you here on YouTube, or you can go ahead and catch it in the archives on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter. You can also catch it there, but also you can catch it wherever you get your podcast. It was a great conversation. So I hope you get a chance to check out the book, When the Game Was War. I believe it is available right now on Amazon. They're having a lot of great sales. I showed you last night as far as sales. Still available for Lakers here for another 50 minutes as we're recording this. Also, as well, we're going to have a conversation with this author right here, Eli Ihesh. I'm hoping I'm saying, and I hope I didn't correctly. I'm hoping that I didn't butcher it. But What Kobe Left Behind. We'll be talking to this author here later in the month. I'm looking forward to that. Magic Man, Laker Nick, and Joe Soro all have PDF copies of this, so they'll be reading it as well. Hopefully, you'll be looking at that book as well. It came out earlier this year, What Kobe Left Behind, as far as the mentality and things of that nature. So, really good reading up ahead for me. And hopefully, you'll be able to get a chance to check out our thoughts when the author comes over later this month. And also, as well, Rich Cohen, who is already on the show, check out his thoughts as well. Intel Wild is closing out our show, saying it's the best Lakers channel on YouTube, and we couldn't agree with you more. But any last thoughts, my friend, before we head on out?
Rookie's gonna rook, vet's gonna vet. Lakers won, Kings lost. I almost said the key word there. I won't disrespect the fine fans of Sacramento. But
They
yeah.
ain't lighting a beam tonight, that's for sure.
Anyway, on to the Warriors. Hopefully, everybody can carry their best efforts onward and leave their bad performances at the Honda Center.
Thank you so much, Intel and Darren, for the kind super chats. It is always appreciated. You can always drop the super chat in there for us. It is right there below on YouTube, and it's always welcome, appreciated. We're an independent channel trying to go ahead and build something strong here, trying to do this every day that we can, but we are, like I said, always in need of any assistance. That is greatly appreciated. Trying to get Magic Man a headset is what my next goal is, so we could go ahead and not hear that. I sound like, my friend, when I hear you all show long, sound like something's ringing in the background. It sounds like one of the slot machines where I'm from here in Vegas. Did you win? Did you get a jackpot when you were playing?
Oh no! Did it sound like the fly swatter?
Ding 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 ding.
That's
Ding
that.
ding 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 ding.
Oh, that was my phone for my diabetes there, Gerald. But yeah, it
Okay,
kind
it
of.
sounded like you were hitting jackpots left and right, my friend. I don't
Yeah,
know. I
no,
hear that sound. I'm in Vegas. That's what I hear. So.
yeah, that's not a good sound though. That's
Darren, you're not banned here. You're a great part of what we do. Lakers Nation can go bite it for all I care. If they're going to ban a great person like you off their channel, they're just missing out on one of the best Lakers fans that's out there and one of the best Lakers followers of the Lakers Fast Break. We are truly indebted to you and appreciative of you, Intel Wild, Zangerstein, Search and Destroy, Kurt Affair, Bloodhound 73. My gosh, all the Alan, of course, as well. He was a great part of our Lakers Fast Break coverage on playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. Give a big shout out to Alan out there. Intel Wild, of course, cannot thank you enough as always. Great conversations with everybody. Just truly appreciate it. Search and Destroy again. Nobody moderates better than him. Absolutely cannot thank you enough. We had new people in the chat as well, which is always greatly appreciated. If you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe today to get the latest notifications. Eric was in both our playback and our show tonight. So big shout out to you as well. Truly appreciate it. Cannot thank you enough for being a part of what we're doing here tonight, especially through the conversations on load management and Trevor Bauer. I know it got a little bit off the beaten path of Lakers conversation, and sometimes people like to check out on that, but I appreciate you sticking with us. But again, a lot of good things going forward. We'll be back tomorrow to cover more Lakers news, NBA news as well. Hopefully, it won't sound much like the police blotter that it did today. But any last thoughts, my friend, before we head on out?
Yeah, you know what, Gerald? We don't run away from controversial subjects on here, and I want to thank you as our podfather and as our leader for allowing us to voice our opinions on this. I mean, we don't always all agree on everything, But one thing we all can agree on is that there's always room for civility and respect. And in a conversation, if you can disagree and still be civil, that's all that you can ask for. We believe in protecting women on this podcast. That's what we're about. And despite what the Trevor Bauer situation, we know what happened with the two gentlemen in the NBA. And we need Adam Silver to set an example here because no other sport will. No other sport is coming forward and trying to be a champion for women. Nobody. So we need Adam Silver and the NBA to be an example here. And Gerald doesn't run away from controversy; he runs right towards it. Gerald has no fear of what's said. He may disagree, he may agree with you, but he'll always listen to what you have to say. And Gerald, we thank you again for that.
I will give a big shout out to the Facebook user that said, "What's intolerable is JV on the bench wearing Celtics green." I agree with you on that.
Yeah,
Also, as well,
we talked about that during playback while you were away, Gerald. Me and
yes.
Alan. It was the Gumby fashion choice. He looked like Gumby.
Oh, then also as well, Anthony Davis had the green Dodgers hat on, so I'm not sure I was digging that one either. Thought they were
No.
Dodger blue. Thought it was called Dodger blue, but digress. Nerd SK001 is now a follower for us on Twitch. Cannot thank you enough for that. Truly appreciate it. All the great people in the chat. Thank you so much, Hannah, Je Toon Dog. I know there's someone else I was missing. I know he's a fan of the Phoenix Suns, but he comes on here and is very respectful to us and truly appreciate that. I know he was kind of letting us have it as far as on the Diamondbacks beating the Dodgers and sweeping the Dodgers. So want to give him a big shout out as well. There's just so many messages. It's hard to keep track of exactly everybody that's in the chat right now. Just so many people chatting. Just that's a great thing to see right now if you're hosting a channel. So always great to have that interaction right here at the Lakers Fast Break. But we will be back tomorrow talking more Lakers basketball for you. And then, of course, playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break right there, 7 p.m., talking about what's going on with the Lakers and the Golden State Warriors. Then afterwards, of course, it's the post game, the best post game, the only post game that you should be watching and listening and talking about and seeing is none other than right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.